Hey traders, welcome on back here this Tuesday afternoon, this Tuesday Veterans Day afternoon. Once again, my gratitude, my appreciation towards anyone that is proudly and courageously served our beautiful country here, right? Any of our veterans that have served in any of the armed branches, but great to have all of us though here collectively. November 11th, 11/11 as well. Make a wish. Great to have Brian, April, Bill. Got Leda, Roberto, Roseanne. You got Jan here. You got Albert, Bill, all of us here just joining us. Perfect. All right. So let's hop right into the thick of it here. Just to begin, cores. I was just looking for a couple trades. This actually wasn't looking so bad just a moment ago as a potential short, but I was actually just studying this right before this meeting started. It still has some support pretty much right here. It needs to break under support from earlier here at 1740. I don't know if this is going to make the big lower low that you'd look to see it make. We've done so well across this whole day, guys, just on, a lot of the stocks that we put on the morning watch list. But otherwise, a couple other trades like Apple, we've been killing it on Apple. If you've been following my call out on Apple, just bought a couple calls just earlier, right as it was pushing over 273 and some change here. I bought the 275 contracts, but those are pushing up pretty nicely. The Pfizer trades up even more. That we've been on top of since the market opened up this morning. I think it was like one of the first stocks from our side list that we said, all right, let's like kind of toss this into the fold and see what this could do. So this one we were on top of pretty early as 9:40 in the morning Eastern. That was our first call out there. I like both of those actually for right now. I'll put both the Apple and the Pfizer just on our watch list for the time being. The whole market's up. The whole market's pushing on up here, right? So SPY actually building a bit of a Fausto flag right now as we speak. Now the thing is here though is that I think it's going to hold resistance for right now. SPY daily chart just filled a gap. It just filled a pretty good gap on the daily right here, right? Close from, what was that, Friday? Or close from, what was that, last Monday into Tuesday that was? So it basically ran up towards that close price, pretty much 683 and 34 cents. That's basically it. That's like to the T, guys. That's like right on the kisser right there. It could easily continue to push upward, but just don't be surprised if this fails to continue from here. We see pullbacks on the Pfizer, you see pullbacks on the Apple. Should the market pull back, that would probably be good news for some of the shorts that we have. Even just before, like we said, a couple of trades like cores at the low of the day, that would give it good reason to see it go lower. So what we'll do is go from top to bottom here across the percent gainers and losers list. We'll build it up and then we'll come back towards the market as a whole, as a collective, and see if there's anything that's a good long, good short there. But LFS, this thing's been all over the freaking place. Some random IPO from like a week or two ago. We don't really like these stocks too much, unless if they're on like larger float, larger, outstanding shares when the IPO. These stocks you don't really want to trade too frequent. So the fact that this is going up right now, I like. It's got kind of a thin, skimpy order book. So that part I'm not too particular about. But if this is going to be one of the few or, one of the only stocks that are popping at this point, I don't mind putting it on our list for now. We'll come back to it at the end of this meeting. I would go LFS over GLTO, quite frankly. And I know that you're trying to play casino if you're aggressively looking for an entry on GLTO over anything else, let alone even over the LFS. LFS, at least you could see the order book. At least you could see there's 4,000 shares here, 310 just popped up there and pulled back a moment ago. At least you could see that. You can't see shit on this GLTO trade. So, I'd rather go LFS. And the reason I say that to you is because if you're trying to really force an entry out there on GLTO and you're kind of stuck like a deer in the headlights, the more that you're stuck like a deer in the headlights, the more you're wasting your time because there could be another stock that's popping a lot better, that has a good order book, that it's easier to read that damn thing and see, all right, where are the icebergs? PUBM, Hub M had a nice push earlier today. This thing also has been all over the place, though. That's right. Back from mid-August, this thing fell off a cliff, and I guess it filled that gap and then a little and some just before. Let's see. What else do we have here? Anything looking more reasonable here for us at this point? This we saved on. We could have jumped in this trade if it were to have broken over 14. Didn't attempt it here after the market opened up. Just kind of held perfectly underneath it, and that was a wrap. That was game over. And had a pretty good morning altogether here. A lot of our students, I did, and just I'll tell you, sometimes the best trade is not taking a trade. I gave some back on NRGV earlier here. I went break even on a trade in the morning. Then I tried getting the same entry off heading into the early afternoon, and I ended up holding on a little bit longer than I should have. Just wasn't making that higher high, and I probably should have just moved my stop up to break even. But it took me out for about like 9 or 11 cents. It was Sable offshore. That's kind of near the highs still. It's been having a good recovery back from the end of last week, right? Read up on the story if you'd like. If you know this, if you know the podcast, Pablo Torre finds out, then you probably find out there. But otherwise, SOC, yeah, I feel like it's a little weak here. Man, not a whole lot that looks too great. The QURE going back up, but the order book skimpy. A lot of stocks that like look really slow. B-Fly, Nvox, those are at the highs, but it's like watching the grass grow, watching the paint dry there a bit. BBAI not holding over our level. We took some good time to see this try and build out. Just no dice. Wasn't making that big bounce that we were expecting. Rivian is, though, back on up to 18. So now at this point, absolutely we'll add Rivian. This has just been a beast from last week, from Wednesday, almost a week straight. But we were talking about this the other day where we had big resistance, not at $16, but at 17 and then next at 18. So, we'll see if this has one final push to get up to that 18 level there. Instacart trying to go back up. Maple Bear, I guess they're known as now. Instacart. That's what I know them by. Yeah, because the spread's tight, order book kind of thin, at least at each price level. But as long as the spread's contained there, it's good. All right, now we got a couple more to our list now. Open, we've seen the stock move a hell of a lot better than this, guys. I mean, the fact that it's at the highs, that's good. But, this thing looks very choppy, staticky. We've seen this just perform a lot better for us. We don't need to, choose open just because we traded it in the past. If it's not going to be its usual self, then I'd rather focus on others. Same with you, Amy. Same with Run. Run actually had a good pop in the late morning, early afternoon. That was nice. But it kind of fizzled out from there. I don't think it's going to make that next leg back up, at least for the afternoon. And if it does, we'll call it out then. And if any of these stocks want to prove themselves to us, I'd be more than happy to call them back out. But so far, we got a few there for our watch list. Let's hop over to the loser side, though, here next, seeing if there's anything looking just as good, if not better there. Got a new metal straw here, so I might be hearing that clang around my glass cup. All right, OM, VOR, none of these looking that great. Now, CoreWeave's dropping off. CoreWeave just made a new low of the day here. So as far as a short goes, yeah, absolutely. CRWV going down. The ETFs, these are much more within our price range there. CWVX. My dyslexia just gave me a headache there on that one. CWVX. There we go. What else we got here? LIF. Pretty expensive. A couple of pretty expensive ones there. Wolf. Well, not a surprise that this is dropping off even more than the other mining stocks. We were a big fan of Wolf months and months ago when it was pushing upward greatly. It was kind of tied closely to IREN. And, that's like a nuclear Bitcoin mining type of stock. We killed it on that one. Now, I come back to Core's CORZ because I started the meeting off on this one. This is a Bitcoin mining stock, too. I think a lot of these miners are getting beat up bad today. Core's CLSK was on the morning list early on from the loser side. We'll get to Wolf next. But the reason I bring this here, though, is that, well, with Wolf, Wolf is, I think, one of the most heavily shorted stocks in the entire market. I got to double check that as of this week, but as of a couple of weeks ago, Wolf here is one of the highest shorted stocks by percent on float within the whole market. So listen, if the buyers are not squeezing those shorters out, then this is going to drop right back down. That's what makes this a good short opportunity today. The only issue for me on TradeStation is that it's hard to borrow. You got to double check to see if you can get the shares on them. But yeah, that leads me to go back to cores right near the low there still. So I don't mind putting that back on our list now for a short. A lot of the Bitcoin stocks down here today as well, even if they're not a mining-esque, company. Riot down bad today. CIFR just broke lower. There we go. Got out on that trade a little beforehand too, but I know Roberto's in that one still. He's killing it from our call out earlier today on that. Soon back down. Not really much business on that just yet. ENPH is at the low of the day, so that looks like a good short actually right there. There's a lot that's down like 5+%. So RCAT's down a lot. SMR. I could add all of these if you really wanted me to, but in the sake of keeping things simple, I'll kind of stick with pretty much what we got at this point here, unless if it's down more percentage wise. So we got the Wolf, the CIFR, and the cores. Those three I'll kind of slip there on our watch list at the end. Hey, Michael, Kathleen, Steve, Brad, Roseanne, all of us here in chat right now. Let me know if anything else is looking good here. Just up, down, left, right, more than 5%. And otherwise, if not, hey, fine by me. We'll call it a wrap because, quite frankly, you would like to have more than just one, but all you really need is just one. So I know April's been killing it on the Pfizer trade. Bill or William C has been killing it on the Pfizer trade also. Otherwise, we have a couple other great trades to work with here. So gold going down now also, says Grant. Yeah, GLD's going up. GLD's at the high of the day here, Grant. Doing pretty good. Let me just check out just from Benzinga Pro before we call it a wrap here. APLD was a great short early on today. Still seems like there's some life to it all around. Not a bad side list stock. I'm not going to put it on the main list, though. This is like where I would tell you if you do well on APLD more days than not, if this is your bread and butter, then you put it on your personal list. The LFS trade we have on our watch list already. We kind of started the meeting off with this as well. It's one of those casino stocks. It's an IPO trade. So obviously be careful. This thing got decimated earlier here when it first moved up. So if it's not going to play nice flip resistance into support, then I wouldn't care for it. Remember, we're not personally attached to these trades outside of just starting and sticking to the watch list for the first 5 or 10 minutes after this point. But if these trades are not going to perform the way that we need them to, let alone the way that we want them to, we need this resistance to flip into support. If it's not going to do that, then we're just going to move on from it. There's other fishies out there in the sea for us to reel in, right, guys? All right, hey, that's going to wrap things up, at least for us for right now. We got the LFS. I think that was pretty much all we got from Benzinga. That was it, right? Leda, appreciate you as always, simulcasting, not just inside our live trading room, but on the YouTubes as well. Folks, for all of us on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., etc., join us just by going right down below. Hit the follow or subscribe button down there at CyberTradingU. But otherwise, if you wanted to skip the queue, go through the next steps, and that would be joining us live each and every day over this next upcoming week inside our live trading room. Join Roberto, Steven, Brad, got all of us just there right now. April, got Kathleen, Leda, about 112 of us here live. So, hey, best of luck trading going into the close if you're not joining us here. But, heading into 3 o'clock, we'll be back on. We got full audio commentary going into the next hour or so before the market closes. All right, folks. But then for all of us, though, here otherwise, hey, best of luck trading. We'll be back on in just a moment.